Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Ronak back with another video, but this is a new form of series that I'm actually starting known as Let's Talk With. So today I'm actually honored to have one of my very good friends and he has actually agreed to start with this series. So he is my, I would say the first guest. So his name is Afrit Sheikh. So he is an engineer in the Tata Consulting Services. So many people do have this kind of questions that how one is supposed to prepare or how one is supposed to get into TCS or basically what it takes to get into TCS. Okay, so hey Afrid, it is an honor to have you on my show today.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting.
Yes. So actually,
I consider this as a privilege to be the first one on your series.
yeah, sure. Never mind. Yeah, so basically it is an honor to have you, Afrid, and what I'll actually do is I have a set of questions for you which are generally asked. Okay, so these are the basic questions which are related to how you got into TCS and how you were working towards the your goal, basically getting into the TCS. Okay, so let us
Okay,
directly dive into our today's session. So the first question that
sure.
I would ask you, like basically ask you, is tell us about yourself, like your education background and the designation that you currently hold in the TCS.
Okay, sure. So as Ronak said that I completed my engineering from the same college where Ronak did. I graduated in 2018, and how I got into the TCS is TCS has a basically one competitive coding competition which is called Code Vita. So I participated in that particular competition, and I was able to be on the top of the not on the top of but in the top few hundreds or few thousands coders. So that's how I got invited in. I got invited by the TCS for the interviews, and this is how like I got selected, and then I got into the TCS. So currently, I'm holding a designation as a system engineer. Well, for all the MNCs, they have like this specific designation, and then they have a different role. So it is not necessary that every system engineer is a coder. But right now, I'm my designation is system engineer, but I'm working as a senior software developer. So I think this answers question, right?
Yes,
Or
yes,
anything
pretty
else?
much.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right.
basically, you have done the code Vita. Okay, we will come to that part later on, that how one is supposed
Yeah.
to prepare. Okay, so but the basic questions now related to TCS itself. Okay, so
Yeah. Okay.
TCS is basically, as we know, is a service oriented organization. Okay, so it is a consulting
Yeah.
firm. So why you specifically chose TCS over the other service oriented organizations like the Larsen and Toubro or let us say Infosys or Wipro, like that?
All right. So as you already know, like when we are when we are actually learning and we are actually pursuing our degree, we have very little to no knowledge about the industry, how industry works, and what are the companies, and we actually have this kind of huge gap between our academic and the actual industry. At the time I didn't really know which one is better, but what I thought was as I was invited by the TCS, so basically they are like valuing my talent, so that's the reason I went for the TCS. I could have gone for the other organizations as well, but like over the time of I have been with the TCS for around 2.5 years. So when I compare after having experience which organization I should have been chosen, so I still feel that well, everyone has their own priorities, what they want to prioritize. Every organization has a few pros and cons. But in terms of TCS, I would say that it has a really good job security, but if you are a really good developer, then you really don't care about job security, you care about your technology stack, right? So that you'll have to do some kind of research, so which organization or which MNC recently has acquired few good contracts, right? So it also depends you which kind of project could be allocated. So it completely depends on your choice, how you make it. Most of the MNCs work in the same kind of fashion. I wouldn't say that one is greater than above. They all kind of are mostly same, right? So it is really difficult to like make someone better than other.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you basically try to
Yeah,
prioritize learning over the particular organization. Like you don't have a
yeah,
specific criteria allotted for a particular organization. That is what you're trying
TCS.
to
Yeah,
convey.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
quite makes sense because basically everyone these days are just looking forward, to get into the big brand names and everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's where the race is going. You can call it as a rat race as well, because nobody's actually caring about what kind of technologies they are working on. It is just
Actually,
about getting this tag of big MNC. That's really matters for the people.
yes.
But
I have actually
when
seen
you
this
actually,
through
yeah, yeah. So
because
as
with.
like people progress in their
Mhm.
career, like then they actually get to know like what should have I have prioritized, and sometimes it becomes like really too late for them to kind of make. But I would say it is never too late. You can in any time of any point of time you can make switches, and you can have your desired career job maybe profile which you are looking for.
Yeah, but switching, I think, because let us assume that you are in the consulting firm right now as a developer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whenever you switch, do you specifically are going to get into another consulting firm, or you can just directly change what you are working on right now?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, the IT industry is the actual industry. I have seen that it has lots of opportunities. You can switch from like even if you are a QA, you can become a developer. It is completely based on your preparation, how well you prepare, and how
Mm-hmm.
well you have groomed yourself for that particular job profile, right? So you could be a support person, and you could also switch into the data science, right? It is just about how well you know, and how you plan your career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to prepare, you have to aim for those companies, you have to look for the questions and kind of opportunities that company has. You have to aim for that particular role. You have to prepare. It is not going to happen over the period of like 4 to 6 months. You have to do a lot preparation over the year, and after a year you would able to see that particular result. It is completely possible that you can switch profile from support engineer to like really good developer. I have seen these examples that people who are working in a TCS have switched to the Google and Amazon. It is not that a service-based person can always choose and switch from one service-based company to other service-based company. It does not work like that. It depends on the caliber of a person and how well he can groom himself.
Yes, basically, so perseverance matters like that.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, so let us move on to the our next question.
Yeah,
So basically, so coming now we talked about the TCS. So now let us talk about what it takes to get into the TCS. Like you told us about Code Vita, but are there any other ways, or what is required to for that preparation and everything? Like so basically, can you
yeah,
just
sure.
describe some other ways? Like one is not good with the coding, let's say, but has a
Okay.
desire to get into the TCS, Wipro, or all of these big service-oriented organizations. So, what would you suggest are the ways specifically designed to get into those companies, apart from the Code Vita?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So basically, many of these MNCs have a criteria of particular pointers. I'm not sure. I'm like not looking into these right now. But when I was like searching for the jobs and going through the different profiles, they
Mm-hmm.
had this criteria of having 6 points something. They were looking for candidates who had this particular pointer criteria. Then other thing was okay. Let me tell you one thing. Like all these MNCs have their like interview process as a similar. They go through the aptitude test, then they have some kind of technical, then goes MR round, and then you have HR, and then they send you home, and then they shortlist people, and then they send the mail. Yeah, okay, if you are selected or not, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of pattern every MNC follows, most of them. So what you really need is you need to actually work on your aptitude test. It is a high time that if you really want to go and into this one of these MNCs, you need to have this aptitude test done at as early as possible, because it takes time to get really used to with those kind of concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other thing is about technical. If we talk about the technical stuff, what you really need is pick any one technology or any one good programming languages. Do like very well, understand if it is a object oriented programming, understand all the kind of object oriented programmings. Like Google, like you can search on the interview questions of that particular programming languages, do them well. Do well in your algorithms. I won't say that they will ask you to write a code for an entire few or three different craft traversal techniques. They might just ask you, you can explain them. Likewise, this is something that you can do. And very important thing that requires to get into this MNC is communication skills. So when I talk about the communication skill, it is not like you are like you are a bookworm and you really read lots of books and you kind of quote Shashi Tharoor kind of words and it will get you into the job. No, this is not going to happen. I mean, when I say the communication, you should have the confidence. You should be
Exactly.
able to convey your thoughts to the person. Like if you have you are explaining an algorithm, right? It should not happen that you are saying something and he's understanding something else. You should be able to convey your thoughts to the interviewer, and that's just enough. And the other thing is that grammatical mistakes, people do lots of this. You can understand that whenever you go for the first time of interview, there is one, everyone is nervous, right? And it is possible that people make a grammatical mistakes, but that's absolutely fine. What you need is you need a confidence, because if you see, we talk in our mother tongue as well, right? And if you get checked your language, you'll find that there are lots of mistakes that we do, but that's fine
Exactly.
because we have the confidence. Nobody actually focuses on our mistakes, but they see what we're trying to say. So communication skills, okay, so if I had to iterate, you need a good pointer, at least a cutoff pointer. If any company has that, then you need aptitude test, because it is a very first hurdle. If you could not clear it, you are going home. There is a technical skills. You can pick any good language, do basics of it very well, like do all the interview questions that usually people ask, understand algorithms a bit, and have good communication skills. That's all you need. Almost all the MNCs, this can be common for all the MNCs.
Yes,
And
aptitude
for
makes
specific,
sense.
yeah, and for specific to TCS, now TCS has created this new concept called NQT, National Qualifier Test. I think you might have heard about this.
Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes.
yeah, this is a very good way. I mean, TCS is also providing few enhanced packages to the people who are doing really good in this kind of test. So if you are you have exceptionally scored very well, then they will call you for further interview rounds, and they check your skill. And if you really like do well, I think they literally double or close to double package of the normal people that they get. So yeah, this is something happens. You can read about this a lot. I mean, there are many technical forums where people write blog posts about this kind of interview experience. You can learn from them a lot. When I was interviewing for the TCS, they did not have any of this. As per my knowledge, they did not have any of this. But right now, like, they have all of these
Yes, they
ways.
have actually expanded the criteria. Even I have heard of it because
Yeah.
in our one of the mentorship programs, I have seen it. We are training the people, and even some of the juniors are
Okay.
actually trying to pursue that.
Uh-huh.
There was also this one competition I remember of known as Inframind. Was
Oh
it of the
yeah, yeah.
TCS or
Yep.
Infosys? I don't remember in particular, but
Yeah, it
there
is.
was.
It is of TCS. Yeah. So two of my friend who were like very close friends, though they got selected through Inframind. They went for the
Mm-hmm.
finals. They were taken to the one of their premises. It was in Pune somewhere. They did very well in there, and they could not win it, but they could secure their jobs. They had like a few questions of they had few rounds of interview, and they were directly handed over the offer on the spot, like while the competition was conducted. So it was very good way. In fact, when a company calls you for the interview and provides you the offer, it is some kind of honor thing, as compared to when
Exactly.
you
Yes.
go through the, yeah, you can understand that. So that's also one of the reason I chose for TCS, because they asked me to interview, asked me to come for the interview, right?
Yes. Yes. It is kind of
Yeah,
valor, I would say, because when you're called,
yeah. That's right word.
that pride just
Yeah.
burst into you like a outburst of many
Yeah.
emotions. Like, okay, so I have been better than many of the people in the India right now. So I have
Yes.
something that
Yes.
others don't possess. That is the attitude you develop. Obviously, it is a good form of
Yes.
attitude,
Right.
I would say, in
Right.
particular, not like condescending on the others, but yes, it makes sense, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically, to reiterate,
Absolutely.
the process goes to that you need to have a good aptitude. Yes, because that was
Right.
actually very important, I would say, because the private
Yes.
engineering
Yes.
colleges
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much prefer the
Absolutely.
rote learning approach, and aptitude is analytically oriented. So yes, one has to develop that. So please focus on that. And the second Afred wants to say is having a good communication skill. Obviously, if you are in your second or final year, you can develop it with the pace of the time. So yes, so not necessarily that in the final year you start preparing very quickly and then you just fall. Okay, so you have to do these things very much prior. You have to plan ahead of the time, basically. That pretty
Yeah,
much makes
yeah.
sense.
I'd like to add something to this. Actually,
Mhm.
even I actually come from the one of the vernacular background. I did not had that kind of good communication skills. So how I
Yes.
improved it is talk to yourself. That's the best way you can do. And try to talk to yourself, summarize your day, record your own videos and watch what kind of mistakes you are doing it. And this really helps. It looks silly, right? If you are doing it in
Yes.
front of someone else, it looks very silly, but trust me, it really helps.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have
Yes.
seen the results. Yeah.
Yes, you are the live example of that result because, because yes, you said it. So that was actually
Yeah,
very great, I would say. Yes.
yeah.
So now, so now
And
you.
really, I also wanted to add one point for this
Mhm.
communication skill. Lots of people have this imposter syndrome that I'm not good at communication. So, but trust me,
Yes.
if the interviewer is really interested in your skills, of actual technical skills and your management skills, then he's not going to take your communication in account. So this is also one of the good things. So be best at your skills and give your best. I mean, that's something is going to help you. Yeah.
Yes, so some people might have, I would say, a little bit of lower technical background, but might have good communication or rhetoric. So yes, even they can do it if they prepare for the aptitude.
Yes.
And if you have a good
Yeah.
technical grasp, like you did through the code Vita, communication is not going to hold that much value as it is in the aptitude. Like that
Right.
is the gist of
Absolutely.
it. Yes. Yeah, so now coming to your preparation. Okay, so you have told us the many ways which are available already in the first place, but let us now have a look at how you particularly prepared for the Code Vita. Okay, so you went to the Code Vita. I think you have acquired the rank of Ninja. That is what I think it is said, Ninja.
Not sure. Like I thought time it was not some ninja or something. We just had plain code Vita. I don't
Okay.
remember they gave us a rank. Just I cleared in 2018. After in 2019, I guess they started this ninja or some this new thing. I
Yes, the
was not
term
sure
is
about this.
actually pretty much right
Yeah,
now in the
yeah,
market that everyone wants to be
yeah,
that
yeah.
code
Right, right, right,
ninjas,
right.
something specifically,
Yeah.
because I think that ninja certification is fixing the grade scale, pay grade scales, I think,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
on
yeah.
the
That's
levels
right.
that you
That's right.
have apparently. Okay, so coming back to the question, so how you prepared for the code beta and how you approach the problems and everything.
Yeah, sure. So back in the time, actually, I would say, back in the time, the code Vita was not that much, like there were lots of big colleges which were actively performing this particular competition. But if you see some low tier colleges, they were not that actively involved in this code Vita. I actually got to know from one of the placement coordinator that we have this competition. You have to go for this. So I was not a competitive programmer. I am really not. I cannot do this weird kind of puzzles, like a forced kind of created puzzle. I cannot solve this in the 1 or 2 hours. I had to actually practice them. I started doing a little practice. I started coding few questions on CodeChef. I did that. Uh, of course, I could not solve any hard question. I started with the easy ones. I started with the easy ones. Then I increased difficulty the medium ones, and by the time I was coding in the code Vita, I was able to solve any medium level questions, and luckily I was able to solve few of them in my competition, and this is how I did it. And yeah, so practice is the one thing. You will have to find one of the platform or competitive coding platform where you can practice your skills. Try to time box that particular question, because you cannot take an entire day to solve one question, right? Just have 6 to, I'm not sure, 7 to 8 hours to solve around 6 questions. So you will have to really consider the amount of time you're taking to solve questions. Time box, do the time boxing of your problem solving, and be good at your algorithm skills. You really need to know how linked list works, because actually nothing but whenever you're solving a problem, you're just trying to map one of those algorithms into your introduce that one of the algorithms in your problem statement. So you will need to have a good understanding of linked list, trees, and tree traversals, graphs, etc. So be good at this. You can go to the Geeks for Geek and learn all these algorithms, then practice those questions, kind of competitive programming questions on CodeChef. You can also participate in their challenges, monthly challenges, and it should help.
Yeah, so particularly the competitive programming thing you told about, even I have suffered a lot, because yes, it is very, very difficult, and the way
Yes,
we perceive a problem in an industry or
right.
any of the project is completely different. Because I personally
Yeah, yeah,
haven't seen any data structures that you have learned that we use. Okay, so in the development we are pretty much acquainted with the frameworks, and
right. Yeah,
this pretty much competitive programming stuff is very, very hard. So basically I would like to portray it as like the aptitude of code. Okay, so the
right.
aptitude one
Yeah,
has to
yeah.
prepare specifically the mathematical analytical one. Here you have to prepare for the code. Okay, the code's aptitude. And yes, the data structure does play an important role. Yes, I have even tried it myself on the hacker rank and all those platforms, but it is very, very hard, I would say.
It is tough.
So
It
one
is
needs
tough.
to practice. So either you have the two choices. Okay, so either you perform for the analytical aptitude, that is the mathematics that you have learned from your first to 10th grade, or you can just move on with the competitive programming. Yes, but competitive programming is very hard, I would definitely say. And considering that toughness level, how would you actually rate between 1 to 10 in the code vita, the competitive programming conducted in the code vita? How would you rate it between 1 to 10?
It is same, man. It is same. They have the international competition. So in the finals, they had a winner from Ukraine, I guess. Then people from China, right? So it is international competition. So they have to keep their like toughness as per the international standards. So you can understand that. And its
Yes,
price is also very well. I think it is $20,000. That's the price get distributed among the top three coders. So of course, when we are providing this kind of prize money, then the
the
difficulty will
best
be
of the
hard as
best is
well.
going to come.
Yep, yep,
Yes, yes, it definitely makes sense, because $20,000 is a very, very big amount, I would say.
huge amount. Yeah,
Huge amount. So I think like a 6-star hacker rank champion is going to come, like all of those kind of people, problem solving, 6-star.
yeah, of course. Yep,
Yes, very
yep. So
powerful
these are
people
the
are
like
going to.
actual competitive program.
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Yeah,
definitely
but
makes sense.
your placement does not. Basically, we have like 2 to 3 rounds of that. But if you perform very well in the first round itself, even then you will get called. So don't worry that you will have to go for the finals. You are not going for the fire. It is not that if you go in your finals, then only you will get placement. It is not like that. They do the regional based approach as well, where they find the top scorer in their regions, and based on also that they call for the interviews.
Okay, so
So
basically
even
it is
in
like you will be
from the round
competing
one,
with
yeah,
all of the Indians who are
yep, yeah,
competitive coders.
that's right.
Still, the
Yep.
competition I think is going to be immense, because the number of people
Yeah,
that are trying
that's
for TCS is very, very high.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is
so
right.
yes. Yeah, so considering the code vita, so you actually spoke of some of the free sources, okay? Because I don't think
Right.
many people would be able to afford all of the, like the Algo Expert course that we have heard of, which is recently on the
Oh, yeah.
uprising. So similarly, many people might not be able to afford such courses. So what are the some sources that you would recommend are free, pretty much free, so that anyone without any hesitation or any, I would say, reasons of not preparing can prepare?
Yeah, sure. Well, Algo is expert, and there are many actually these resources, and they are going to cost you a lot. And you have already paid for your engineering fees, and I don't think so. You really need to actually purchase those courses. So
Yes.
I would really recommend Geeks for Geeks. It is a very good platform. It is free. Not entirely, they have the paid services as well, but it is really their free content is very very good. You can really learn coding from there. You can also go for the Code Chef, Lead Code, then
Hmm.
Code Forces is there. These all the platforms are free. You can literally start solving any questions, and they have like good test cases. It is not that if you are using their free version, then they are just going to check 1 or 2 test cases. It is not going to happen. They're actually going to test your code as per the standards of not exact standards, but somewhat similar to what people do have the standards in the competitive programming. So yeah, and one good thing about this is that it is going to help you in your other interviews as well. It is not that if you could not clear the code vita, but still you will be going for the different interviews, right? So it is really going to help you, because in interview technical skills, the technical round, right, they will be asking you few questions like reverse a string, then they might ask you to find the palindrome, right? And reverse a number without converting it to the string? So these kind of questions are like very common. And this, if you are facing the question that you have not seen earlier, but still because of the practice, you will able to solve that in your technical interview. And
Mhm.
this, there could be possibility that other people could not solve it, but because of your this practice earlier, you have practiced it, you was able to solve it, and you could be in, you know, spotlight of that particular technical interviewer, right? So this could give you some advantage there.
So
So
basically,
I
one
think it is
cannot.
really worth.
Yes, yes, yes. So basically, one cannot fool anyone because like anyone just can use some fake test cases and then just get, because you said even in the technical round they might ask you about how to reverse a string or invert
Yeah,
and binary
they
tree
can
and
ask.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
they can
basically they are
definitely ask.
assessing you very very thoroughly, so you cannot pretty much fool anyone. So luck is not going to work here, you
Yeah,
will have to work the hard
prepare for
way
that.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the
yeah.
preparation does matter. Yes, it
Yes,
definitely
of
makes
course,
sense.
of course.
Yes, because I have gone through many of the tests in even in my engineering, and I would definitely say those are very very difficult because I have always been very poor with the competitive programming. My development aspect was very very good, but yes, I have lacked, and so it does matter that you need a lot of preparation. Okay, so don't take it lightly because these things are going to take time. Not everyone, because some people, yes, definitely can grasp very quickly because they have a very expanded vision, I would say, to perceive a problem. Yes, but definitely data structures does play an important role. And talking about the courses, I'll just display them. Okay, so you can just have a look at them, the free sources. Basically, he spoke about HackerRank, okay, Code Chef, Lead Code, and Code Forces.
Code forces. Yeah,
Yes. Okay, so definitely.
and also add the gigs for gigs. These are the common, like everyone knows about this.
Yes. Yeah, GFG basically gives you the conceptualization of the data structures. If you are not aware
Yeah.
of any algorithm, you can just go. Like I have personally tried it in my masters also. Okay, I had this Prim's algorithm, and I wanted to
Hmm.
implement it. So I just said Prim's algorithm gigs for gigs, and I got the entire Prim's algorithm. Yes, so it makes sense. Yeah, so these
Yeah.
sources are very very useful. So not necessary you will need money or you will have to prepare. Okay, so please don't give reasons, start preparing the way it is. Okay, because if Afrit can do it,
What?
even you can do it.
Of course, anyone can do it. What I would like to say is that everything is free on the internet. To be honest, there is nothing that you actually have to purchase, and without purchasing, you're not going to get it. What actual this free the you know the premium courses are nothing but your compiled version of good resources. So there are
Yes,
like everything is available. But when you go for the premium courses or content, they are like you won't have to search for them. You'll get these like pre-compiled and kind of only specific which are really important. You will get
yes, yes,
those.
yes,
So
yes.
it will
Algo
save your
expert
time.
does it.
Yeah.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
seen, because it basically spoon feeds you. It is like, I would say, the one of the
Yes.
best
Yeah.
courses to prepare for competitive programming. But like unlike Afrit did, okay, so one should, I think, pursue that way, because when you learn the hard way, you can do anything. Because let us say the problems that you have practiced or solved on the algo expert, and some other problem just drops in. At that point of time, the person is going to be haywire, basically. Yes,
Yeah.
so the way Afrit prepared, so basically he went on to the vast variety of courses, not courses, I would say, platforms. Okay, so you have actually tried some lead code, you tried, let's say, hacker rank and
Code
everything.
forces.
Okay,
Code
yes,
chef. Yeah.
yes, so it does develop you. So it is an overall, I would say, well-round development. Okay, so just go for that, just like he did. Okay, so don't just stay on the one platform. Yeah, Algo Expert, I don't have any issues because it is very very good. I have personally tried, like I have saw its syllabus. Okay, so it has actually very well structured. The way you said that everything that is important has been compiled into a small box, so you can quickly do it. But if
Yeah.
you are in the second year of engineering, you don't have any issues. Okay, you can go home, prepare by yourself. In the you have basically have 2 more years. Like, okay, so one
Yeah.
question I would like to flaunt is, when basically you gave this code vita, like in your seventh or eighth sem?
I gave it in my seventh sem,
Okay, so that is
and
final year
yeah,
basically.
finally.
Yes, makes sense. Yeah, so now let us talk about some of the development questions that you have been doing. Okay, so we have been
Yeah.
talking
Sure.
about the preparation stuff, but let us give our audience a, basically a view on what you do after getting into TCS. Because Yes, getting into TCS, there might be many videos. Okay, many people might talk about it. Now let us talk about from basically your point of view, what you basically do over there. Okay, so you obviously tell me a lot of things in the past also. Basically, you have told me. So you're a Java
Yeah,
developer. Okay.
right,
So I know that you had a very, very powerful grip on the Python. So why did you
right, yeah.
chose to become a Java developer out of nowhere?
Okay, yeah. So basically, when you'll need to understand how MNC's business work, right? So they mostly do the mass recruitment, and what they really want is they have the business, they want to run that particular business, and it is not going to happen that if particular person says that I want to work in a Python, only Python. If I'm going to work only if I get the Python project, it does not work like that. They have to run their businesses, and they have recruited you, and they will allocate you to the one of the particular project, and you'll have to work on the technology that particular project demands, right? So at the time when actually I was asked to choose one of the options, so only option available was Java, and I really wanted Python, but unfortunately Java was the only thing which made sense for me, so that's the reason I chose it. And after that I already knew Java, and I went for it. I completed my training, then I got allocated to one of the project, and I would say that it is not wrong to learn anything different than you actually desired for. So let's say if you do not get something which you wanted, it's fine, you can go with what you have right now, but still it you can also practice those in your free time, right? So if you have to work for 9 hours, but let's say you can complete your task in 7 hours and still you have 2 hours remaining, you can introduce that particular technology to your current project. It could happen that your management could spot you like, oh, this person is doing very well in this particular technology, so let's utilize his talent in some other way, right? So you need to create your own opportunities as well. You cannot say that I did not get opportunity and sit there like, oh, I cannot do anything now. It was my destiny to do that. No, it is not. It is your destiny to change and achieve what you really want. So this is what I would say. This doesn't matter what technology you get to work on, you just create your own opportunities and pursue what you really like to do. So even I did that in my current project. I use Java. Along with Java, I also use Python a lot, and I also got, because of this, I opportunity to work on with few other frameworks. I already told you I cannot discuss everything here, but
Yes.
you can create your own opportunities. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so basically, it might have been a very, very powerful career leap, I would say, because after investing like 2 or 3 years in the Python, you were actually switching to Java. So definitely, and personally, I would say for me, okay, not for others, I would say in particular, but for me, Java is extremely difficult.
Yeah, yeah,
I never had success with the Java. The only growth I was able to make was with the Excel and Python. My Java aspect was very, very weak, and Java or C++ is definitely difficult. So for you it might have been difficult. So a small question, that were you acquainted with the Java development right before joining the TCS, or you just grasp it over
yeah.
there?
Actually, yeah, actually, I was doing a Java a lot before, because if you see the Mumbai University like syllabus, the very first language that we learn is C, right? And after the C, the first language that we learn is Java. And at that time, I would say Java was my first love. That's the statement I'll go with. I really liked Java. My first projects are actually in the Java. They had Java backend running, which was connecting to the database and putting the data out. So I developed my own projects in the Java, and when over the time I got to learn about this Python and data science, so mostly started doing the data science work. So I'll tell you how my journey was, right? So earlier I started with HTML, CSS, then went for the C, then went for the Java, developed few projects in Java, then started learning Python and did some projects in data science related work. Also trained few deep learning models, right? So I
Mm.
also like did like HTML and CSS, web designing. So almost I tried everything. So I kept on doing what I actually like to do. This is what actual software development is. It is not about developing applications, but satisfying your needs. So whichever language you like, whichever framework you like, you just go and implement that on your own. You do not have to be dependent on a particular job profile to give that particular satisfaction to you. So
Very
this is how I
greatly.
did, and currently, yeah. So most of the developers do this. I mean, everyone does not work on the technology that they want to do. uh, their job profile is not something that they actually like to do. They have their own, they make there's a like they particularly take time out of their schedule to do these kind of small projects and like be happy with what they really want to do. So currently, I really like the big data technologies right now. I'll tell you the current scenario. I implement projects on my own, and this is how I like make myself happy. So this is also sort of thing you
So
can do.
still till this, like even till this date, you have your job, but you are striving to learn something new. Obviously,
Yeah,
you are not expecting a particular outcome, but you are basically learning for yourself just to make you feel good.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you don't have
Better.
that,
Yeah,
I would say, a desire that was left behind when you were young, that I was not able to
yes,
learn. You actually want to
yeah,
learn whatever is available, whatever basically fascinates or tingles your curiosity and stuff like that. Yeah, but that was a
yes,
very
of
great
course.
line, because I was actually pretty much reluctant towards Java. Obviously, it is very, very hard. I would say I have hated Java. Like you said, you loved Java in your third semester, but I have hated Java not because it was difficult, but the basically the way it actually used to raise error and everything, and I was pretty much at that point of time hopping over towards the Python. You are basically, but what you are trying to convey is that just try to sink your fingers in whatever you see, and then the right will come
Yeah,
to you in that manner.
yeah. So many would actually think that I have been hopping to the different technologies all my career, like from C to Java to HTML, then to the data science, right? So what quote I actually use here is that if you really want to survive in IT industry, you'll have to be the jack of all trades but master of one. So you will have to be the master of one technology. That will actually be your job profile, and you will have, if to satisfy your needs, you can be the jack of all trades,
Yes,
and you
yes,
can
yes.
do the all kind of technologies.
Yes, and the way the I would make a slight remark that the way the job profiles or the responsibilities that are posted on the LinkedIn, okay, so they need you to be like a god of development. I would say they need basically they need CPP, they need Python. Apart from that, they need Tableau and everything. So yes, it does stack up. It is not easy, I would say, but the career leap that you have made was very, very fascinating, because I personally wouldn't have been able to do like from Python. I might have went to JavaScript, but Java was very, very difficult because it is like an entire leap, basically a complete different language. Okay, so yes, it was very, very difficult. So basically,
Yeah,
you had a touch of the Java. Okay, so you even after your second semester, you didn't left it completely. You just had stayed in touch with it like that
yeah,
till a final
yeah,
year.
yeah,
That is the way you were
yeah.
able to perceive it later on in your final year, like after your final year.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so makes sense. And one more question, like the question here comes that obviously I won't ask you what projects you're working on, because yes, I know that comes under non-disclosure agreement, but definitely
Right.
you can tell me the technologies that you use. So pertaining to Java, I have heard that you use Spring Boot and Hibernate. So tell us
Right.
something
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. So I believe most of your viewers are actually Python programmers, right? So I'd
Yes.
really compare my Spring Boot with your Django or Flask. It is nothing but
Okay.
your web framework wherein you actually can create a web like websites, or you can also create your REST APIs using that. So both of them, even Django and Flask comes with embedded servers, right? So Spring Boot comes with their embedded Tomcat. So this particular Tomcat service is embedded in your actual project you have. When you kind of build your project using Maven, you actually get the jar file, and you can, this particular jar file is actually production ready jar file. You do not have to do anything. You just go copy this particular jar to your production servers using any of tools that you like, and
Mm-hmm.
you literally do java hyphen jar provide jar path, and your production app is ready. So it is more similar to the Flask and Django. It really provides like less configuration. You do not have to worry about configuration a lot. It comes with few inbuilt tools and frameworks, like in terms of Django, they have the ORM framework, right? I think it is SQL related, something SQL Alchemy, I guess. Is it or something else? Yeah.
SQL Alchemy with
So
the Flask, we use it.
okay, yeah. So not Flask. I was talking about the Django. I forgot the
Yes,
actual
yes.
name. So ORM, actually it is a ORM framework, object relational mapping. So actually your entity class is mapped to your SQL table, right? So Spring has inbuilt kind of JPA support for that. it uses Hibernate behind the scene. So you don't really have to write your SQL queries. You just create entity class, you map to your table, and you just call a method called save, and you pass in object. Your entire object, which is related to your actual Java class, is mapped to your SQL table, and your entire data gets stored in your table. You do not have to write queries for that. So it provides lots of cool features like this. And yeah, I mean, you can create a production ready app, like you are not doing anything, you are just returning a hello world. You can create such kind of small app within a few minutes or half an hour, and you can really deploy it. You don't have to work much on coding part. Lots of people say that while doing the Java code you have to write a lot, right? But
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, we have to write a lot, but today's IDE is, right, these are very, very advanced. You just write, you can just bind few of words to your keywords, and it entirely writes a method. So if for example, if I'm writing a main method, I just have to write main and press enter. It is going to do all public static void main string, then args, everything. It is going to write it. So it is not really good to compare the verbosity, but if you go with the advantages of frameworks, then you will really find that Spring is really, really powerful. And even God knows how many production applications are right now running on Spring. And also
Mhm.
Spring recently added the support for the languages like Kotlin and few other. So yeah, I think it has a really good future ahead.
Yeah, so basically the ORM that you talked about is like a replacement for REST.
No, when we talk about the REST APIs, it is like when you talk about the REST, right? So your front end is actually calling your REST APIs to get some data,
Yes,
but
from
you have to
JSON.
write some code. Yeah. So now, right now, you have to write a code to retrieve that data from your tables, right? So what you actually do is you open a connection, you load your drivers, or the very first step is load drivers, open your connection, then make a query, get the result, transform that result into JSON, and return to your front end caller or any client who is calling your REST APIs. But when you use a ORM framework, you do not actually have to write a queries. You just pass few configuration to this framework. You need connection URL, you need a database, connection string, then you need database credentials, and you just need a driver. And what this framework does is along with this framework, you also have to create few classes. This class is nothing but a Pojo. We called it a Pojo. So what Pojo stands for is a plain old Java object. So
Okay.
basically, whenever you create a class, this particular class, let's call it employee, right? Employee class has an attribute called ID. It has a name and it has an address. And you have a table in your database whose name is employee. And again, it has a table column. It has a name and it has an address. Let's say. So what your ORM framework Hibernate is going to do is it is going to map your particular table row to your objects. And when you will call a get method on that particular table, all the records which are present in your table will get mapped to your object, and you'll get the list of all these objects. So
Mhm.
understood, you do not actually have to write a query to select star from employee. You just call method and you get all the objects.
Okay. So it is
Yeah, so
not
it is
as
kind of
complicated
abstraction.
as it sounds
Yeah,
once
it is
you
pretty
get a
easy.
grip of
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes, because you were acquainted with the Flask and Wait. We have also worked on Flask very much. Like for 2 years, we both worked on Flask, and I know the difficulty level. So basically, you were able
you
to
know you know the
shift
pain
to.
of flasks. You know that.
Yes, learning it by ourselves was very, very difficult task. That is the reason I made the tutorials, because I knew what the framework was. The documentation was not very mature, I would say. So it was very,
Yeah,
very hard
that's
to
true.
learn. Very, very hard.
That's true.
So basically that the knowledge of the Flask was able to aid you in your Spring Boot and Hibernate, or was it completely
Yeah,
different from what we
I
learn in
would say
Flask?
no. No, no, no. It is pretty common. We have the @ annotations, right, for the rest and get, and then you provide you retrieve the request. It is almost same. Technology is same. Just it is like you are changing your languages. That's all I would say. There is not much difference.
Yes, because I actually wasn't aware of this, and the most I think that I knew of the Java was related to the, I think, serverlets that we
So
used to
let's
learn
yeah.
in the bachelor's. Okay, so that was the only thing. But Spring Boot and Hibernate, I definitely have heard of it, and it feels
These
kind of
are
new.
very new. I mean, no, people would be using these servlets, but now these are like old technologies. Now, I don't know if somebody would actually use it. There could be use cases where you actually need to use servlets, but specifically, I don't think so any would go servlets just
Yes,
for the
but now,
personal.
over
Yeah,
the period of time, you are basically comfortable with the Spring Boot like that.
yeah, I would say.
Yeah, so we have now been talking about the coding stuff. Okay, so lately I would say.
Right,
So now let us talk about some non-coding or some soft skills that pretty much are important for your career. Okay, in that manner.
right, right. Yeah, so as I already said that there is a one skill which is most important is communication, because when you will be joining the project, right, you'll be talking with the people who does not know your like native language, in which environment you are working on. So let's say you if you have some offshore people, right? I mean those are not Indians, so they have there could be a possibility that you are talking with like Americans, they have a good grasp on English. But let's say there could be a possibility that you're talking to few of the Japanese people who lives in Japan, right? They are not, their English is not that good. You'll also have to be a good listener to understand what actually they are saying. Even though they are talking in English, you will not be able to understand each and every word or and the entire sentence what they are saying. I actually faced this problem. I was because few of I basically I work with the people who are from like all over the world. I also talk to the people who are from Korea, of course South, and few of the few of them are from Russians, from Middle East, and even Africans, Americans. I have talked to everyone, almost everyone, and it gets a little difficult in the beginning, but over the time it gets used to them. You start getting their accents, and it becomes easier. Just you have to have one thing is confidence. You need to perform well there. You need to have your confidence. You should be able to convey your thoughts. That's the most important thing. The other thing is that managing your time, it is really difficult when you have like multiple tasks and you have tasks on priority. It should not happen that boss has failed, your manager has told you that I want this particular task on priority, but you are doing some stupid stuff which is not really a priority. Then you might get canned because of that. Because these deadlines are like your managers has to answer few people. They have to communicate these deadlines, and when you are working in a multi teams environment where one team is dependent on the other team, so this could because of your mistakes it could happen that the entire two or three teams are failing to go for the production. So this could be a really big problem for you. So you'll have to be very very good at managing your clock. Also work life balance. Lots of youngsters, in the beginning try to impress their managers. They try to like work for 8 hours and 10 hours and try to show that we are working hard. But trust me, if you are honest with your work, what you're doing, you do not really need to show this kind of extra efforts. You just do your job, be it 7 hours. If you're taking it 7 hours, that's fine. Do your job in 7 hours and sit idle. Or if you do not have any constraint, you are allowed to go home. Just go home. It shows that you are really efficient. You are performing your task in within time, and it really adds a few value. If your manager is really sensible, he'll know that you are really good at your work. So this is one of the things you need to actually manage your time. You need to have your work life balance. Go out, give time to your family, friends, because people give importance to the this kind of your career a lot, that they forget about the family. But this should not be happening. And also know well when people are taking advantage of you, because this happens. Okay, let's admit that this happens a lot. Let's talk about this. People don't talk about this, but let's talk about this. Like there are instances wherein your lead or your manager will assign you tasks which he is supposed to do. It is not your job, but still you're doing it, and you're not getting credit for that. So you need to really be mature and understand these kind of scenarios, and you'll have to handle it politely. You also do not want to lose your job, right? So because of internal politics, so you will have to be safe with these things. You'll need to know this, but don't get like overburden of this. Just be cool with your skills. That's what I'll say. Just be honest with yourself, be honest with your job, and this should really help you. And the
Yeah.
other thing is that keep on learning new things. Just don't stay at one place. If you know Java, just you are learning Spring and Hibernate, and that's it. That's the your entire world. This should not happen, because industry changes a lot. There will be new technologies coming in which will be replaced over the time. Trust me, in the entire IT industry, it is not that every day all the projects are not newly built, right? These are the old projects which are being transformed with migrated to the new technologies. These are also many of these projects which are actually
Mhm.
migrated. These are not actually newly created projects. So you also need to update yourself as industry grows.
Yeah, so basically picking up with the pace. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you actually talked about the corporate politics because yes, you want to be in the limelight. You don't have to be in the I would say a bad phase, because yes, one can definitely, in the effort of trying to impress the boss, basically pick up some enemies who are there, who are
Yeah.
his or
Yeah.
her co-workers, basically.
Right, right. So what you have to do is play safe. I wouldn't say that impress your manager or impress your colleagues. Impress yourself. That's the one thing, right? I mean, if you are honest with yourself and if you are really improving, you it doesn't matter in which team you are going to excel everywhere, be it in any team. And trust me, your good efforts are not going to go waste. These will shine one day. You just try to believe in yourself.
Yes, people do have that contention. Okay, this is not my work. Why am I supposed to do it? But they might
Right.
miss on something valuable learning resource, because let
Yeah.
us assume you are given a task on the Python and you basically love Python. You basically love the exploration of the Python. But some people might be reluctant. They might be like, okay, even if I'm Python developer, I am getting paid only for the Java. So why am I supposed to work on the Python? Like, you are saying that you have to get rid of this mentality.
Yeah, this attitude as well. Yeah, actually, if there is a task that it is a really good learning opportunity, you should go for it, because sometimes happens that few things comes up and you cannot actually cope up with them, and you will have to put some extra, you'll have to run few extra miles for your team, and you should definitely do that. It is not that if it is not your responsibility, just run away from it, right? It should not happen that you, if team requires, basically work in favor of your team. If team requires to do it, you should accept it and do that task.
Yes, so yeah, so it does make sense. I know, because this
Yeah,
can actually promote you, because if you are
yeah,
able to
yeah,
take
of course, of course.
responsibilities, one might one day recognize, and even your coworkers will be like, okay, he's a good leader, he likes to take the responsibilities, okay, and basically he or she doesn't hesitate to do
Right.
something that is not in their plate. Yeah, so it definitely
Right.
makes sense. Yeah, so now you have actually talked about the non coding, basically soft skills, I would say. So, what are
Okay.
the best practices you prefer to have in your under your pocket, so that you can just keep up with the trends and everything?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I would recommend this in perspective of a developer. So I really follow this book called Clean Code. It is written by Bob Martin, and people in community call him Uncle Bob, and he also refers himself as Uncle Bob in his book. So he has a really huge and long experience, and he has worked on a lot of things. And best thing to learn is learn from the experienced people, because they are going to save you a lot of time. They'll actually tell you which actually works and which actually doesn't work, so you just avoid doing things which don't really work for you. So he has written all the good content about how long your code should be, how long your class should be, how long your method should be, what how should be your variables, and etc. So it is going to save you a lot of time in your code reviews, because whenever you will be writing a code in industry, you will have to go through the code reviews, and in code review your senior manager will be assessing your code. He will be saying how good your code is, and there could be a possibility that he'll ask you to refactor your code maybe 10 times, because it is not good enough. For every like changes, he just asks you to go change this, and you will come up with those changes, and then he'll find 10 mistake in your newly refactor code again, right? So just to save this all kind of works, you can just refer to that book. You can just learn these good practices of writing code, and it would really help. And it would really give a good impression to your senior management, senior managers or senior developers, that you actually know how to write a code. It will give you just added advantage in with as compared to your other colleagues. Also, to keep up with technologies and trend, I would really recommend just follow. There are like every particular programming languages has a good websites, on which the content is always updated. So for Java specifically, I would say go with MK Young, then Martin Pro, and then Java Revisited. These are the like few famous websites where the content is always updated, and community keeps on adding new content to it. For Python, towards the data science, then
Hmm.
Medium. These are the like test tools. People keep on adding new content to it. So similarly, there will be for Node.js, there will be for Linux, and there are tons of open blogs available to learn about new trends and technologies. There is also called design patterns. These are like not you are not going to use always in your code, but this is something good to know, because as you progress in your career and you receive your senior developer designation, and when you try to switch from one to other organization, in interview it is very common to ask the design pattern. So design pattern is something also like really interesting thing to learn.
So
And
basically,
also
it is a
like,
software
yeah,
engineering practice.
yeah, it is actually it was written by a gangs of four. There were four people who like were really senior and had like very long and wide career in IT. They like detected these few problems which were occurring again and again. So they kind of wrote this kind of guide or manual kind of thing, wherein if you encounter this particular problem, you solve using this particular pattern. Likewise, so it is a good thing to know. It is not necessary that you know entire all the design patterns. There are around 24 25, but there are like few famous ones which it is good to know. So
Yes,
yeah,
and the
this
refactoring thing you spoke about does make sense because why I'll tell you, because let us assume that you leave the job and the other developer
yeah,
at your place is going to come. So the work of that developer even should be easy. Because if you
right,
write a
right. I mean,
very dirty code, that other person is going to suffer a lot.
yeah, I mean, let's take an example, right? So let's say if you have 100 files of code, and there is a one code actually inside the main method. You are creating a class called a, and a has a method called a method name, right? If you are reading a code in GitHub, it doesn't make any sense what actually this particular class a does. You have no clue what exactly it does. But let's say if your class name is calculator and the method name is add, just by reading the code, you know that this particular method is going to add my two variables, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
this makes a lots of different, it makes job easier for the developer who is going to like support it for the time, right? So this is really important to know, write a clean code.
Yes, it does make sense. I know. I have even faced it, okay? Because
Yeah,
when I used to manage some of the projects, if the code is very dirty, even my code was very dirty before, basically
yeah,
learning the
everyone writes.
Uncle Bob's videos. Yes, because the way he teaches is very, I would say, elegant and very nice.
Yeah,
In a fun way,
even
basically.
if you
So
are reading,
learning is not an
yes,
obligation
yes.
with him.
Yeah, actually, if you read his book, it is not something like a bookish thing that it has a statement. It is actually more of a conversation where he is talking something. Actually, when you read something, you will feel that he is actually talking to you. He's just conveying his message. It is not something like the regular book that we read in our engineering, academic
A
things. It
typical
is not.
textbook.
Yeah, it is not a typical textbook. It is definitely not.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I know. Because Clean Coders is very good. Like even today, the audience that he has is extreme. Like a set of people, not even without saying, are going to attend his lecture. That is the quality. And yes, actually his name is I think Robert Martin. Yeah, but people call him Uncle Bob. He himself
Yeah,
calls him
actually,
Uncle
Robert
Bob,
Martin
like you
does.
said.
Uncle Bob.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I even have
yeah. So
went
even
through his one of the book known as Agile Principles. I think he is the inventor
yes.
of it. Agile
Yeah,
Principles,
yeah,
Agile
actually,
Software
actually,
Principles.
yeah. So these books are really going to help you as you progress in your career, and getting to learn these like things earlier in your career would really help you in your further interviews. Let's say if after 5 or 6 years, if you are switching from one organization to other. And about this like clean code, I'll really like to add something to it. So that we used to code for hackathons, and we had our code checked in everywhere. So I read this book, and someday I actually visited one of my code, and I could not believe that this crap was written by me. You know,
Same.
actually, it was like really embarrassed. I was really embarrassed of that particular code. It
I
was a
also
good code.
even
It was a
remember.
working
Yes,
code.
yes,
It,
yes,
it
yes.
was a completely working code, but I was really embarrassed of the way it was structured.
Exactly. Because even I remember that one API I was working on. So it was basically the position location variable. But I just wrote POSLOS, POSLOS. and and after like visiting it after like one
Hmm.
and a half year, even I was like, what is POSLOS? Because I wasn't able to recall. So how the other person is, just going to sit over there and think about what I have written. So yes, writing a
Right.
clean code does matter. And if your code is elegant, it's basically like a great rhetoric that you write on the blog post. So if your code is very,
Right.
very
Yeah.
clean, people are going to hire you because because they basically come to know that yes, you have the potential to write a clean code. Obviously, if you lack some skill, they can train you. But writing a clean code
Yeah.
is a must.
Yeah, I mean, understand this, right? If you are working in a team, then there is a possibility that your coworker is on the leave and you will have to handle his work. And let's say if you are working, if you have a team member who writes a really, really dirty code, it is going to increase your working hours. That's all. So, and nobody would want such a coworker who writes a dirty code because they will have to
Exactly.
deal with that code base afterwards, right?
This makes sense.
Yeah. So this is one of the really, I'd say, most important thing for the developers.
Yes, yes. And now coming to the next question. So
Yeah.
you have been a dedicated backend developer, okay? But
Yeah.
still, I would like to have your opinion on the JavaScript. Okay, so obviously JavaScript is even used for the backend, for the node and everything. But let us assume that the client side has better dominance with the JavaScript. Okay, so whatever is in
Right.
the front end. So what is your take on the importance of the JavaScript in the area of the development?
Yeah, sure. So I'd really like to quote this. I read this particularly in one of the book. I don't remember. I think it was JavaScript for Dummies or something. So what author was trying to say is it was a quote for a JavaScript, like a message to the JavaScript. It was saying like, dear JavaScript, you did not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, but there is a no technology in this world that can challenge you in browser. So that's the kind of quote. When it comes to the browser, there is a no competitor for the JavaScript. So if anything that you have to run in a browser, I close my eyes and say just JavaScript. Pick any framework and work. Use JavaScript for that. I would really say that you just the community of JavaScript is also growing. You know that tons of frameworks are coming in. It is making your job easier and easier to do the designing part and write some dynamic content, load your dynamic content. JavaScript, it is not just that, but the mobile platforms. If you heard about the the React Native.
React
So
Native.
with one code base, you can develop apps for your iOS as well as Android. You can understand that how much work and the money it is going to save for the organization who can just hire a one kind of developer and he codes for the two different platforms. It is really huge. I would say learning the JavaScript would have advantage for you in long run. JavaScript is not going anywhere.
Yes, because even I have known about it. So yeah, one has to accept the fact because in Android developer, you specifically need a Java person.
Yeah,
In the iOS section, you need a Swift developer. But React Native is like just a combination. The person has to just, I think, compile into the app
yeah,
basically
and yes,
with the
yeah,
engines basically, and the work is going to be easy. So it is basically going to, I would say, save a lot of money for the organization, and there is a room. So considering the fact of the JavaScript, even I have tried a little bit on my own, but I have seen you working on the React. Like you said, you talked about React.js, the single page
yeah,
application monster
yeah.
basically. So how would you say that now? Obviously, you're a backend developer, but let us assume that you have seen some or the other projects where the React is induced into the real world. So how you would portray that the React is induced into the real world, like some real world applications or anything like that?
Uh, okay, so React was basically built by the Facebook. I'm not sure.
Yes, yes, yes.
Does uh, does Facebook uses actual right now? Facebook website actually uses React. I'm not sure, but the main advantage of this particular React is that single page application. Your content can be load dynamically. You do not have to go visit multiple pages. It gives a better user experience when you have the single page application. You can just load a particular or refresh particular section of a web page. It really adds on the user experience. Right now it is not about the user. UI is not the one thing. There's also one more thing called user experience. How you give experience to your user with your UI, this is important. So I think it is really React is adding a lot to it. It does not mean that just Angular is not worth it. Angular is also good. There are a bunch of really different other frameworks, but what I feel is people are more towards React because its stability. I mean, its framework is really stable actually if you see. And with regards to the Angular, they keeps on adding new versions, and developer kind of get frustrated with it. Trust me, I actually have not personally coded in industry with regards to with respect to the Angular or React. But what I have heard from the people is that they prefer or like love to code on React than they like to code on Angular.
Yes. The only
Yeah,
detriment that I saw particularly with the Angular was you have to learn TypeScript specifically, because yes,
yeah,
JavaScript does work because React is, I would say, entirely JavaScript oriented. Okay. And now there are these emerging concepts in the React. I have even heard of them. Basically, when I was working on a blockchain project, I came across them. So there is this hooks. Okay. Then there is the induction of Redux and everything, because it is very, very
yeah,
advanced. But Angular, I have personal problem. Okay. So yes, I know the way it works. Okay, because by the time you learn anything, it has just gone on to the next version. Yes, that point was very, very important, because yeah, but React, I think the way you said, it gives you the user experience, because all the components on your single page are very, very independent from each other. I can just
right,
hover my
yeah.
mouse, change a particular thing. And the way the Facebook, yeah, Facebook does use it, but I was once shocked because in the link I saw .php. So yes, I am pretty much confused about the Facebook. Don't know in the future if I might be able to interview some guy or girl from Facebook. But yes, I am definitely going to flaunt that question, because I have seen in the link.php, but they say that they use the React JS and PyTorch, all the basically the frameworks they have been working on since many years. Okay, because yes, because the
Yeah,
Facebook does
actually,
work on the research.
yeah, recently actually I saw a few of the videos online, or it was a conference, not really sure. Yeah, I think it was some kind of conference. So basically, when we talk about the Facebook is not just a Facebook UI that we see, or Facebook website that we see. When we talk about the Facebook in general, they have a lots of product. They have a WhatsApp, they have a Instagram. I think Instagram is built using React Native.
Hmm.
That's what I remember.
Yes.
Then the backend is written in a Python. Then they are using PyTorch for analytics. So when we talk about just in general Facebook, so it is not that they'll be using particular for Facebook as a website. They could be using in it their backend. They could be using in their other some of the product that we even don't know, right? There could be a possibility that they are using internally few tools or apps just for their employees, in which they are actually using these technologies. So yeah, it complete you will actually have to interview some of the Facebook engineers to
Yes.
get the answer of this question.
Obviously, I might think that that also might come under non-disclosure agreement, but particularly they can tell
Yeah,
on the real stuff they have been working on, because we aren't aware of the things what we see. Because these days anyone can basically fool you. Like they can use Bootstrap, tell that they are working on the React, and yeah, I have heard of it. Many times, even in the hackathons they used to do it. They, like, people used to say they are working on the React, but on the other hand they would just use the Bootstrap and fool the panel, okay, that they are working on the React. Obviously they would just build the application and say that okay, it is in the development mode, like not in the development mode but in the deployment mode, and they would fool it by building it. I have seen it. Yeah, so
it's all fun of hackathons. Yeah.
yes, React, I would say definitely it holds value, because you have personally been a Java developer, but I actually wanted a little bit of your point of view on the JavaScript. That is why I asked you this question, because yeah, it does make sense, because like you said, you have been working on a lot of stuff. I personally know it. You have been working on the Python, Java, JavaScript, everything. We were basically sinking our fingers in whatever we saw in that period of time. Yeah, but it does
Yeah,
make
actually
sense.
JavaScript is not going anywhere. If somebody like in future, let's say 10 years, so people tell that you can do actually train a machine learning model on your web, using a JavaScript on your web browser. I would not be surprised with that.
Yeah, it is actually all now started. Not, I would say, training the model, but running the model using TensorFlow.js. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
I
it is
heard about
happening.
this.
It is happening.
Yeah,
So in next, I think 2 or 3 years, when the computational capabilities and the space complexity will be reduced, it can happen definitely. Like the sky is the limit when it comes to development. So anything can happen. We aren't aware of it, but let us see. Yeah. So the considering the fact of the development and the stuff, so where you basically see yourself in the next 5 years down the line as a developer, I would say.
okay. So what really I would like to do is I have been like mentoring few of the juniors in college. I really love doing that. I really like to guide people who are really enthusiastic about the technologies. I'd like really like to start doing something similar in the bigger scale. What I see myself is a better developer, but writing just the code is not enough. You'll have to understand the systems, because when you work for a startup or any, as you grow in your career, you just don't write the code. You also build a system. You design, you architect the entire system. So I'd really like to go and understand how architectures, how system architect work, and how they do they build it, and what are their preferences while building these large and scalable systems. I'd really like to learn these things, and I'd really like to build such systems on my own, and this is how I look towards it. And yeah, so mentoring is one thing that I would like to do on bigger scale. uh, then learn and build such big systems, and and have a good grasp on how the system designing is done. So yeah, this is something I'm saying towards.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yes, because it might often happen that one cannot stick into a particular job for a couple of years because someone
Right,
has
yeah.
to replace you and you have to move on basically. Like if you
Right.
plan to stay in that position for a prolonged period of time, it can actually hamper your growth. Like that is the
Yes,
point
absolutely,
it can
yeah.
happen
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
there
so
might be some kid who will actually go through all of these procedures of the code vita and can come along with you, working with you, or even bypass you. So yes,
yeah.
so when you are looking forward to work with the great technologies now, even if you are contributing yourself to the big data, so
Right,
yeah, it
yeah.
definitely makes sense that you are trying to achieve something that is not in like at your current level, I would say. Like you are basically aiming for big things.
Yeah, actually, if you see that, okay, I'll come to the big data afterwards, but let me talk about this career progression, right? So when you are in a MNC and you have like achieved some certain years of experience, let's say 5, 6, 7, or 8, maybe 8 years. After 8 years, I don't think so you will be writing a code a lot. What you will be doing more is handling your team. You'll be more of like managing the requirements of your client, providing or managing your production releases, reviewing your code. These are the most of the jobs you will be doing, and mostly you will be dealing with Excel sheets and then your IDE. I really don't want to go in that particular direction, and that's the reason like I'm looking towards system designing and system architecture stuff, right? So the project manager might come up with few requirements that of it we have to build this kind of system. So that's where my job come in. So I like take the consideration how many users I have to support, how much how much budget we have. Based on that, how many resources we can actually spend, and build the actual system which will be have the lowest cost, and it will be the robust, it will be secure, and it will be scalable. Let's say if my user base grows, and it should not happen that I cannot grow it anymore. It should
Hmm.
not happen that my system is not able to handle that anymore. I should be easily scale it without like burning more resources or adding more developers to scale it. So this kind of work I would really like to go it. So this, there are kind of 2 to 3 different paths, but this is the one path that I would like to go along.
Yes,
And
it makes
about
sense.
the, yeah, about the big data technologies, lots of people claim that they know big data, but trust me, big data is this huge, I would say, space where mastering it is not possible.
No.
There are like tons of frameworks, and Apache alone has like if you are going to explore just Apache related like all the big data frameworks which are under the Apache, it is never going to happen. You might take a 20 years to completely learn and deep dive into it. Because when we talk about the big data, it is not just you build the like system and just forget it. You are dealing with that level of volume, that you'll have to do the optimization. And when you go for the optimization, you have to deep down that particular framework. And deep diving a particular framework within a year, it's not possible. I don't think so it will be ever possible, because considering the development work that you are doing, and actual production and testing and everything within a year, it is not possible to optimize a particular system within a year. It will take a years for system to build, and then you can continue on optimizing the existing system. So big data is something that I really like to go and explore a more, but I wouldn't actually go entirely into the big data, because few people have this concept like, when we talk about the big data, it is just SQL and SQL servers, and you just write the big SQL queries. And yeah, most of
Uh,
data
yeah.
engineering interviews, like I have seen, they just require SQL. That's all, and few tools like reporting tools like Tableau and few other things, and that's all their requirement is. But actual data engineering is not just dealing with this kind of work, but building a system and dealing with this large kind of volume. It is a really interesting space. So I would not go with something just related to SQL. I would try to keep the balance of my software engineering and my data engineering both. So yeah, this is something I'll really uh, looking towards.
This is a very good thing because most likely it does happen. I have seen it because I've personally seen it. Basically, many people are software engineers. They get saturated after like 5 or 6 years of their development down the line, and then they just get into the management, administration. Basically, like you said, they
Right.
work on the Excel and the stuff. Basically, it is analytics part. You
Yeah, of
deviate
course.
far away from the actual development, and you just have to guide. And the big data thing is actually very very important because yes, people do study big data in their like CS or IT in the final year, and they start to believe, they basically get inflated that yes, they know big
Yeah,
data. I have seen it because yes, like you said, the frameworks amount of the Hadoop offers or whatever the Apache basically offering, the offering by the Apache is going to cost you 20 years. It's because we personally both have been working on the only the predictive analysis part. You have personally worked on the PySpark too.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes
You
sense
know,
because we are only working on the machine learning aspect and not on the entire picture, like the high performance computing or let us say map reducing,
yeah,
all of these
yeah.
things.
Yeah, so like even for the data science, we think that we just get a model of we just get 100 MBs of data, and we just run train our model on that. It really does not happen that way in the industry. When you
Yes, yes.
work with even if you're working with a good startup, like well-funded startup who has like good user base, you will be receiving lots of requests, like millions or billions of requests per day, and you have to run analytics on that. There's where like our traditional academic kind of data scientists fail, because they don't know how to deal with this kind of situation. They are used to training their model on 100 MBs of file, and when they go for the production, or they find like 100 TBs of data, and they don't know how to do deal with this kind of data, and how to find
Sampling.
how to do the yeah, how to handle that particular data. They don't know, and that's the reason. Actually, this is one of also reason I'm choosing this balance, because I also had a background of data science. I had a knowledge of machine learning algorithm. So I think it would really be good for my career to have balance of all these three things. And I think it would be a good position for me to have this balanced kind of knowledge of all the spaces, all the different spaces of projects,
Yes,
because it is
companies
not going to happen.
basically do look for it. Even I have seen it because when I went to the deep learning interview, the main question they
Yeah,
flaunted was, what if I give you a big amount of data, how you're going to handle it? Because sampling does come
yeah,
into picture. And we
yeah,
are used to working on the in on the academia level, we are only used to work on iris or Boston housing prices and all the small data sets, just like you said, the 100 MB stuff. Yeah, so it does make
right,
sense.
yeah,
Like working on 100 terabyte data is actually very very difficult. Like we can think of
yeah,
it, okay, one might work. That is the reason those people get paid so heavy fat salaries basically. Yeah, so it does make
right.
sense. Yeah, but
Yeah, so
consider yeah.
yeah, considering the fact that when you are trying to learn your machine learning, right? So we know that there is a point in machine learning that after particular data sets, you cannot train your model further. It is just like it is not going to move anywhere. You are just have lots of data, but after certain amount of data, you cannot train your like your actual further training does not matter at all. It just freezes kind of its weights, right? So you really need to decide when you go for the machine learning, when you go for the deep learning. We kind of have this very narrow kind of thinking towards just machine learning. But we need to have like this broad area wherein we actually have to think about how data is generated, how we are taking in our system, and how we are analyzing it, and how we will be using it. We have like this we don't think this big picture. That's where I think we are failing somewhere, and not let's be frank. There is a concept, or like there is a mindset in the entire world that India has a lots of developer, but what is the quality of that particular developer or data scientist that matters.
Yes,
So this is where we fail. Like, we forget to, like, we kind of ignore this big picture. We just go for a particular thing and we just learn, and that's our, the world. Kind of frog in well, right? That's this entire
exactly,
world.
exactly. Yes, because India does focus on the quantity rather than quality. And it does
Quality, yeah.
happen. Yeah, because I would personally say that you are one of those examples who has managed to gain the most of it, what you have in your hand always. Like even in your undergrad or even in the TCS, you are getting what is like the most better of everything, and that does make sense. So basically the key point to the audience is that the knowledge is available everywhere, you just need to grasp it. Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to come and spoon feed you the stuff the moment you leave the college, because yes, in the bachelors everyone is spoon feeding each other, okay, and the seniors are going to help you. But in the industry area, I know, yes, it does happen. You have to hold your ground, you have to move according to your pace, you have to learn the things, and it does happen. Because people pretty much get reluctant, definitely. Like they don't consider the ramifications, but yeah, they just think that okay, my engineering is over, I have got into the TCS or I have got into the Infosys, and now yeah, I'll just work for 9 to 5 and then later on I'll chill. And after like 10 years they have their life ruined. Yeah, it does happen. Like you have the aspiration to become something new even at this point of time, even after mastering the Java and the Spring Boot section you are currently working on, you still strive to develop yourself. Like this is the
Yeah.
best, I would say, thing that is happening, because not all the TCS engineers that I have personally met are showing this kind of enthusiasm. Like they are already saturated with the work they are doing. Like they are just doing for the sake of the money. Like there is not.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'd really like to add here is that it is not that my project requires me to do this kind of big data and learning. I do this for my own benefits. I prefer myself tag as a software developer, and I like to keep it to its level and expectation. So whenever there's something new that I feel like learning, I do it. So this is what a particular person should do. I mean, if you consider yourself a good software developer, and if there is something that is kind of you have the interest on that particular technology, build yourself an application. Don't wait your project to introduce that particular technology in your project. It is not going to happen that, because enterprise do not work according to your uh, interest. It
Exactly.
works for the interest of their business. So they are not going to introduce particular technology just because of you. So if you want to learn that particular technology, do it on your own. Build your side projects and add to your GitHub and LinkedIn, and it is going to help you to maybe get the better job than what you're doing right now.
Yeah, completely makes sense. So the way you told about the GitHub, like GitHub and LinkedIn, okay, so those are like kind of, I would say, online resumes. So a little bit
Yeah,
of word
those
about the
are.
LinkedIn for our audience. Like what is the importance of it?
Yeah, sure. So having a LinkedIn account is a must. I would say must. If you have like if you are in the phase of your engineering, you have a good projects, it should be on your GitHub. And it is not just like checked in curly and you're done. It is not that. You'll have to write a good README file. You know, let's consider a good example, right? So if you are given a Flask, you have to run application on Flask, and you are given a Django. So which one you would, if you go to the particular repositories of both the different projects, I would say Django has a better documentation. You can just read through and you understand. There are copy paste instructions. You can just copy paste and run your application. So other people who are non-developer, like if I have not developed that particular application, but there is a good README file and there is a good documentation, it is more I'm more likely to go to that particular project and read more about it, because the documentation is very well written. So it is kind of a way to attract people, right? And earn a respect among the developers. So if there is a one good developer, let's say if you have a LinkedIn account and you have listed all your projects, and there is a recruiter or lead manager who is hiring through the LinkedIn, and he come across your profile, he visits it, he views your few of the projects, and it is well documented, right? So there is a chance that that manager directly gives you a call and asks you to come for the interviews. This has happened. People has reached out to me. People has reached out to like different people as well. I have even heard that Google and Amazon kind of big product based companies also visit and view people LinkedIn pages, LinkedIn profile, and they offer them to get interviewed in Google. So it is very, very good. It is a platform that everyone should take advantage of.
Yes, it does happen because yeah, even I would say like my teaching career, like the way I
Yeah,
was invited for the workshop, it actually grew because of the LinkedIn. The way the skills that I had put in my LinkedIn resume, and then we or the many people that you have worked with give you recommendations, or they can
right. Yeah,
even
yeah,
give you the badges and everything. Yeah, it makes stuff.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
basic,
so
yeah.
just yeah, maybe so right now, if those people do not have any LinkedIn account or have, just connect with us. Maybe you'll get to know what kind of projects we have done and Ronak has done. You can view our profiles and maybe learn a little bit on it.
Yes.
My projects are mostly crappy, but still you can take a look at it.
No, not
Just
crappy,
for
I
that,
would say in particular, but the way you work currently, that is what is making you feel crappy. Because on the academic level, I would say the projects I worked on were very, very good. Yeah, the
yeah, we
difference
we
does
work.
come because even now after 5 or 6 years, you'll feel like the things that you're currently working on are crappy. Yeah, it does happen. The
Yeah,
level of the
yeah,
perception and the vision that we have definitely expands, because the way I thought about the Java before you told me was kind of absurd. I would say it was not very good. Okay, because I used to cuss Java a lot, not because of the JVM, just because of the fact that I cannot code in it. So
yeah,
that was the
yeah.
thing. Yeah, it does happen that sometimes it, and the way you told about the README file. Yeah, so I would like to flaunt a point over here: the software engineering or the software project management. The two theoretical subjects that you have been learning in your engineering do come into practice over here. Yeah, because the documentation
Yeah,
stuff,
they're
I do
great.
remember it is very, very important, because the way we have learned Flask and Django is very easy. Like the copy paste. Even I would say the documentation of PyTorch is extremely good. It
Good.
was it
It's
was
very good.
way ahead
Yeah,
of, I would say, TensorFlow at that period of time, before the TensorFlow 2.0 came into the picture. That time PyTorch was very, very good. Even the Keras was good. That is the reason we were working on the Keras projects, and we were keeping
yeah.
aside
I
the
mean,
TensorFlow.
it if you take example of all the good technologies that are like today leading in the market, and if you go and read their documentation, those are very well written. It is more likely that if the documentation is well written, it is more likely that people are going to adopt a lot to that particular technologies.
Yeah, so
So
basically,
yeah,
even if you have
it
your
matters.
startup and your documentation is good, there is a good point that it might sell more. The people are
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
prefer your
definitely.
API. If your documentation is very well written, people are likely to use your API.
Right.
Even Google Cloud improved it very slowly, I would say. At that point of time, AWS had a very good documentation. Yeah, so it
Yeah,
does
of course, of
matter. It
course.
does matter. I know, because as the developers, if we see, it is very important. Okay, but when you are inventing the code, you basically lose a grip over it, because you are like, okay, I have done this. Why the other person cannot perceive it? But yes, but documentation does make sense. Yeah, so it is very, very important. And now, right before closing, so I would say this is the last question for our session with Afrid. Okay, so
Okay.
it is, I would say, a ending note basically. Okay, so what is the message that you would like to give to all the people preferring for TCS, basically who are in the phase that they want to get into TCS, they want to work like you, they want to work on the technologies that you have worked on, or so on, basically on the some other things. But what is the message that you would personally like to give as a friend to them? That what are they supposed to work on?
Yeah, sure. So the very first thing that you should be doing is there are certain ways how you can get hired. So try to find all those ways. There is a on-campus placement as well, but TCS visits very few colleges. So uh, for many of the people, it would be out of a question. Prepare well for NQT. It really matters. Prepare well for your aptitude. Do practice because in NQT they also ask a coding-based question. So do practice for code beta, and it is ultimately going to help you for your NQT coding question as well. Do well in your interview. Try to impress your interviewer with your skills. So pick any language that you like. Go to the depth of that particular language and prepare very well for that. try to have the good knowledge of data structures and algorithms. uh, Practice your interviews, to be honest. Ask yourself a questions. Just read questions, interview questions, and try to answer those questions without looking the answers on that particular website. It is going to help you. Then Yeah, I think for the managerial and HR questions, you can just Google those questions, and those are the most common questions, like why would you like to join TCS, and what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. For managerial question, they are going to ask you few small puzzles. This also completely depends on the management, the interviewer who is going to conduct your managerial round. So yeah, I think this should be enough for you guys, and it is not just for the TCS, but all the most of the MNCs who follow the same kind of hiring pattern. It would help for all of these kind of interviews.
Yes, it does make sense because yeah, some people, due to their introvert nature, even I feel like you were kind of introvert in your bachelor's. Okay, and you
Of
have
course, I
now
was. I
outgrown your
mean,
face, huh?
yes. I was a complete introvert. I'd like to add something. In class, if the professor or lecturer is asking few questions, even if I knew the answer, I was not having that confidence to answer that. So if I had to take a punishment because of that, I would take it, but I would not answer that particular question. So that kind of nature I had. So yeah, if you really want to grow in your life, you will have to outcome. You'll have to come out of your comfort zones. So yeah, it will require, you will have to face your fears. So I used to fear I had a fear of talking in front of people. I faced that. I, like, as I told, I used to talk to myself. I used to record my audio, I used to record my video as well, and just to see like where I'm lacking and improve it that way. So yeah, you will have to find your fears, you will have to fight your demons. That's what I would say.
Yes, it does make sense because not all the people who are watching or who actually want to pursue the aim of the TCS are not going to be extroverts. Yeah, it does make sense. I've known a lot of people, even not just you, I have known a lot of people who are definitely introverts. But yeah, it does come into picture because just because of the fear that you might mess up something, you're not going to answer even if you know the answer. And HR rounds, particularly, they are going to judge your personality traits or characters that you have, or the flaws,
Yeah,
basically, that they are
yeah,
not detrimental to their organization. Yeah, it does make
right.
sense. But the way you overcame the fears, the technique is very, very good. Like if you are a definitely dense introvert, it is going to work for you. Like you will have to just basically record yourself. Okay, so just start with the voice itself in the beginning, then talk
Yeah,
in
I
the front of
started
the
with a
mirror.
voice. Yeah, yeah. So for the first of all, for the fluency, you will have to go with the voice, and then for the body language, how you actually present yourself. Because in interview, it should not, body language matters a lot. It is just not like you're sitting straight and giving the answers to a one person. It should not happen that your interview, you should have a control over your interview. It should not look like they are asking you a question and you are answering them, answering them, right? It should not look like, it is not a viva, it is an interview. It should be interactive, and the person, like I have been taking interviews in TCS itself. I also interview people in TCS. I also have given few interviews, and I have noticed one thing, that when you make an interview as a conversation, or when you have the control of your conversation, it is more likely that you will get selected. This is how it happens. You'll have to gain the control of conversation.
His hand
It should not
gestures
look
can
like,
also come into picture because if your
yeah,
hands are
hand gestures.
talkative,
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
mine, I have a
no,
lot of habit, like
yeah, yeah.
using my hand gestures continuously while talking. It is going to be good fillers, and definitely to the audience. See, like Afred right now said that he has also conducted interviews, so definitely also he even can come as a panelist for you. So yes,
No,
it's
I
a very
stopped that now.
okay, okay.
I don't go out. No. Actually, I used to do this just for the internal, I mean, lateral, hirings, mostly directly to the projects, and these were the experienced people. I have not interviewed the freshers much. I I can go, but it will take a time. It takes a designation, particular designation to go and visit particular college. But for the lateral hirings, mostly I do interview people.
Yeah, but it
So
does make sense. The
when I mean by the lateral hiring, it is something related to teams. So when we have opening in the team and we are actually hiring experienced people at that time, this kind of hiring is called lateral hiring.
yeah, I actually didn't know about this. Yeah, but it does make sense, like you said, the way the interview should be. Basically, it is interaction. That is the
Yeah,
way it is. You have to have the control or the grip over your interview. Like you
yeah,
have done
right.
it. Yeah, it does make sense, because if you are intimidated, definitely if the panelist has a control over you, you have a chance of
Yeah,
losing. They can
yeah.
ask you.
I mean, there are skills of people. Even I use that during the interview. That if I don't know particular concept, I can redirect my interviewer to that particular. If I know particular topic very well, I can redirect my interviewer to ask that particular question. This can also be possible. Like I have this experience, and I have done this with my, when I was giving interview in few of the organizations. If you really really well at communication, you can like turn your interview a lot. It really depends on your skills, and
Yes,
it
yes,
is
yes.
not going to happen over the time. You will have to work every day for that.
Definitely. That is the reason. Because see, if you are in a final year, definitely the amount of effort that you have to put in is very, very immense. But if you are in your second year, a dedicated preparation of, I would say, 1 hour per day is going to make wonders.
Yeah, I mean, I was not used to prepare that much. I just spent around 10 to 15 minutes for this recording your voice and summarizing your day. It does not take you half an hour or 1 hour. Just 10 to 15 minutes of daily, or alternate days. It is enough. Even in a month you can see the progress in yourself. This is something I kind of proudly say that this technique works a lot, and it works. And you don't really have to invest in these coaching classes where you have to they will teach you how to speak. And even like people, what they do is they just read the grammar books. It is not Communication cannot be improved just based on your grammar books. When you teach a child to speak, it is not, you don't teach him the grammar. You just speak to him, and this is how they learn to speak, and this is how they
Yes, yes,
learn
yes,
the languages.
definitely, definitely.
so you will have to speak, and it is not a matter that you'll have to get scared. It is not something like get scared because you have the like TCS or any other organization focuses on just on communication is good to have. It is good to have, but not just a criteria to have a good communication. It is good to have good communication, but not mandatory to have the best communication, I would say. It is just you should be able to convey your thoughts with confidence, and that should be enough.
Yeah, it is going to make a change, because yes, the way you said. And the another thing that I think has pretty much helped both of us is basically teaching. Yeah, when
Yeah,
you
yeah,
teach, you are
that's
going
that's
to
the one.
grow very, very immensely, because you have to plant the idea inside your mind into somebody else's mind. And Afrid has done that. Like he has conducted the PySpark, I think. Okay, PySpark workshop you have
Yeah,
conducted.
I have done couple of not just PySpark. I have done on the data science PySpark, also on the Java and few other things as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
it
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 does make
helps,
sense,
Yeah,
because you are, if you are able to control a class of 60 people, like talking with a group of three or two or three panelists is not going to be an issue.
yeah, yeah.
And just
It
have
it,
the
it is.
contention that you are going to
Yeah,
crack it. Because sometimes it does happen that you sit in an interview and it might happen that a thought just would struck your mind that yes, I might fail. That is going to catch
yeah,
you.
and you're gone. Yeah,
You are gone,
then it is going to ruin everything. Yeah.
because
So
your
you'll
emotions
have
are going
to.
to change.
Yeah, you'll have to have your control on your communication and all these thoughts. If you could control, as I said, you'll have to fight your demons. If you can fight your demons, then that's it. You have the control of your body language and everything. And it is also like presence of sense is also presence of a time. It should not happen that if you got a question that you have never heard of and you are just gone. I mean, you cannot answer it, and you forgot all the things that you know. This should also not happen. You should able to handle the situation very well. So this is also one of the things that you need to focus.
Yeah, it
So
might happen.
one way, yeah, one way to do it is that do the mock interviews. I mean, ask your seniors to
Hmm.
take your interviews, and let them take it like professional. It is not like just a friend is taking your interview. Make it professional. Make him ask you questions in English, and ask him to judge your answers, how well you are presenting it. And
Exactly.
it is going to have a huge impact on you.
Yeah, basically in the mock, I would say that anxiety is going to get
Yeah,
sided,
yeah,
because the anxiety, because if TCS is the only your first interview, then that all of that pressure is going to just compress on your mind, and then you're like, okay, like this is the first interview of my life, and if I screw up over here, I'm just dead. It is not like that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because if an introvert like Afrit, he has actually proved that he can get into TCS. So this is definitely possible. I don't want any reasons, because yes, many people would say that, okay, I am an introvert. It is very difficult for me to get into the MNCs or any of the tech giants and everything. But yeah, that is just false. Like if you have that potential, if you have basically what I would say, the contention of getting into TCS, like you were basically at your time, even you spoke about it, that you were open to all of the opportunities, but you were particularly, you landed into TCS. Yeah, so it does
yeah,
happen. Yeah, so Afred, this was definitely, I would say, an informative session, okay, because TCS has been successfully a dream of, for basically many people out there, okay, not just two or three. It has been dream for many of the people. And yes, it is good. This like session is very informative, because we have not just covered the aspect of getting into TCS, but also in other service-oriented companies. Like one might use this knowledge, because the hiring procedure is basically same for every one of them. Okay, not I would say product-based specifically, but for service-oriented companies like tech giants or MNCs like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, this is going to be very helpful. Okay, yeah, and it was very good of you to basically contribute your valuable time in this session as a guest. Like I personally would like to thank you from my heart, because you are like my first guest that I have had on this show. Okay, because this podcast thing I had in the mind since a long period of time. I wanted to do it, and I was looking for very informative people who can basically spread their knowledge very seamlessly. And you are one of those people who have always orchestrated the knowledge that you have and imparted to the people. I've also seen you specifically talk about the React to the others. You were actually promoting React.js or React Native to our juniors. I have seen that personally, because it does make sense. Yeah, so session was very good. Okay, no doubt about it. We have
yeah.
most likely
Thanks for
covered.
inviting me. Yeah,
Yes, sure. Because we have covered like all of the like most asked questions. Like these questions are like most asked questions. I always had them. Like people would come to me, ask me how do I get into TCS. I'm like, okay, I don't know, but I'll someday try to convey it to you. And today is the day. Yeah, we have made it finally. So this was the first episode. Yeah, so the timestamps will be in the description box. I will also link Afri's LinkedIn profile in the description box. What you can just go do is just go in the description box, click on it, and you can have a look at his profile. Okay, so you will come to know how to build your LinkedIn, because yes, your LinkedIn is definitely impressive. I have seen it. Yeah, it does make sense.
thanks, man.
Yeah, so it was an honor to have you. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah,
And
always, man. Yep.
yeah, and this is it for today's episode, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.